Hey friends, let's talk about community building. So, what's really interesting to me is in the last couple of weeks, I feel like I've been to a ton and like of PD, whether it is for like Indigenous learners in the classroom, Black learners in the classroom, or even maybe the second most utilized term this year after pivot, which would be trauma informed approach. I don't know about you. I've been hearing that from everywhere. Regardless, I feel like community seems to be at the heart of helping all of our learners. And it still works also with a de-streamed classroom as well. So what's good for one seems to be good for all. And what's a really interesting connection that I was able to make this week is that, for example, a lot of Afrocentric scientific or just like standard on how they do and design how they interact with people, and same with Indigenous cultures historically, there was a big community focus. It was a group focus. It was picking up on all the skills of everybody around you and using all of that diverse skill base to be able to elevate the entire group and learn some more. And so when you build a community in your classroom and nurture that community, then you're able to kind of build this holistic approach that mimics more of what certain people not from like a traditional Eurocentric experience would have had. So I think that when we come to from a community standpoint, it's not just good for de-streaming, it's good for inclusivity, it's good from a science perspective if we're trying to help build and have more different diverse voices in STEM. It seems to be good for like everybody. So I don't know why we're not focusing more on community building, because it's so important. And I think that that's because people are so stuck to the curriculum, and we need to let the curriculum go and first encourage and nurture our learners. And so for me, the first week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, we don't talk about curriculum. I tell the students we're not going to talk about curriculum. I tell them not to worry about it. They don't have to memorize anything. We're just getting used to how the learning works in this classroom, learning to trust each other, learning who each other is, and creating this community where we can learn together. How do I do that? So this is basically how I've organized kind of my unit guides that I share with students. So I thought I would share it with all of you so you can kind of see it. And all of these links with all of these documents are all in my website at physicswithmcp.ca. So feel free to go and grab them. All the resources are there for you. So my first day, we do nothing that has to do with physics. It's literally logic puzzles, visibly random groups. You're going to get everyone organized. And then we jump into basically river crossing problems, which have nothing to do with physics, and that's okay. What you'll notice then throughout the rest of these, though, is that they're good for science, and they're good for physics, but they're not necessarily physics content. So I'm not like checking any boxes on like how waves behave. But what I am is just teaching these students how to be good scientists. So, for example, talking about model building. How do we build a model? How do we ask questions? How do we work in groups? How to recognize bias, do good research, know what an actual legitimate website actually is, how to be precise, how to be accurate, how to pick tools properly, how to set up labs in a way that you can actually collect what I would consider good data, how to trust your gut, how to like students just like look at their calculator and they're like, okay, so this person weighs like 10,000 kilograms. And I'm looking at them like, how, like that didn't flag something to you, right? Like we need to help recalibrate their guts. And then I also do an activity with graphing. So with my community builders, I'm doing these kind of key ideas. We're working in groups. I change up the groups every day with visibly random groups. We're working vertically as much as possible, although there is some like Google research and stuff like that. So when we're doing Googling and researching, they can be down on the computer. And then we're focusing on science skills. You'll see here, there's practice in here, but it's not like thou shalt learn this topic. It is all about like, let's work together, let's debate, let's learn how to communicate with each other, let's learn who each other, like who we are as humans, who we are as scientists, start seeing ourselves as being awesome, competent scientists, and going from there. So if you're looking for information on like specific lessons on how I run all of these things, the practice sheets that I give out to students to take a look at, and all that kind of thing, they get this document and all the link documents are all on my website if you need them. You'll also notice here that a lot of times people will look at things like your learning goals. So here's my learning goals, which are actually just like what my goal is for takeaways from the class so that students kind of know what we're looking at. And then the other thing that's here is also for me a feedback focus so that I can kind of hone in on which skill I'm going to look at the most that day. So hopefully this helped you out. It's all about building community. It's all about making people feel safe. And it's all about people making sure that they have a voice in the classroom, because that is the most important piece.